Welcome, Nathalie.
Thank you.
We were discussing before the EW Tipping Foundation, and it was started back in the 1970s by a guy called Bill Tipping. He had a son with cerebral palsy. And Bill had the view that what was available at the time was not good enough for his family, and really said, well, okay, I'll get something going.
Right.
With organisations like ours, where you've got a founder, there's great strengths with that. But there are also difficulties with that, with branding around a founder. Can you comment on that?
Organizations that are highly connected or whose brands are highly connected to their founder brands, I think that's generally a positive. But there have been some sort of high-profile incidents where it can be a negative, and I'm thinking about the Armstrong situation in particular. And so in that case, the organization needs to be able to differentiate itself, right, from the founder. So typically it's a positive, but sometimes it can be a negative.
A brand has to have life. It has to live within its client group. So how do we walk the talk with our clients? And when I'm talking about clients here, I'm talking about the recipients of our service,
right,
more so than the funders, although they're, of course, clients as well.
Yeah.
So these are people often with intellectual disability, but also sometimes physical disability. So communication issues are significant, but certainly able to be overcome. So they're a particular challenge, I think, in establishing and developing brand.
So I think it's interesting. For a lot of service delivery types of nonprofit organizations, the people who are actually delivering the service are indeed the brand for a lot of beneficiaries, right? And so the degree to which those volunteers or those employees are really vested and feel in sync with the organization's brand, the better they are able to be brand ambassadors and represent the brand. We like to think about brand as who you are, what you do, and why it's important. And that's a kind of a mantra, and employees and volunteers that really know what the organization is, who they are, what they do, and why it's important, have a much better sense of being brand ambassadors. There can be a disconnect between the buyer of the product and the service and the user. And so a lot of times donors don't actually experience the product or the service that nonprofits bring to their beneficiaries. And so there's a disconnect or a break in the feedback loop, if you will. And so people have to trust that the nonprofit is actually going to do what it says it does. And in a lot of cases, we're talking about beneficiaries who might be either disadvantaged or maybe more vulnerable, and therefore trust is actually more important than it would be for just a normal consumer product.
The impact of social media on branding, particularly not-for-profits, is big.
So social media is very exciting, and it really does change the way you manage brands. So instead of having this sort of command and control, one-way communication of the brand message, you really have to be able to engage all kinds of brand ambassadors through social media and really empower those brand ambassadors. You can't control your brand anymore. You have to kind of let go of this notion of really tightly controlling your brand. What you can do is curate. You can put some brand tools on a platform and make those available to your brand ambassadors, and you can encourage discussion, but it's pretty much impossible to control your brand. And we have a couple of examples in the book where there have been incidences, difficulties that an organization has experienced. And in fact, it's really been the brand ambassadors, stakeholders, donors, beneficiaries that have kind of risen to the fore and defended the brand and defended the organizations.
Increasingly, organizations need to look for other partnerships to deliver types of services.
Right.
How do you manage brand in those complexities?
So that's a great question. And I think the A in our IDEA really speaks to that. The A stands for brand affinity, and it's really the ability of organizations to draw key partners to support their mission and the implementation of their mission. I mean, I think there's a greater understanding that we cannot, in our sector, achieve our mission without the help of other organizations and frankly, other sectors. And so the imperative to partner in order to be able to drive change social change and also to have impact is no longer under question, right? We really do have to partner. And so the role of brand in that and achieving those partnerships is first to gain a lot of clarity on who you are, what you do, why it's important, so that you can understand who you need to partner with in order to increase social impact.
The program that I'm here to do is around performance management, performance measurement for not-for-profit organisations. How do we link that with the issue of brand?
Some things that's interesting in terms of the performance measurement space is that we're talking less about attribution and more about contribution. So let me explain. Instead of saying, this social change that we are seeing in this particular geographic area or with this group of, or this particular population is thanks to us as an organization, which would be more of an attribution. We're looking at increasingly nonprofit organizations talking about how they contribute to social change. And this is really important because if we don't have a contribution approach, everybody's going to be sort of vying and competing for a piece of the pie and saying that change is due to my organization. And that will in fact squash partnerships and collaboration.
Nathalie, thank you very much for your time. We should hold up the book so we can get a good shot of it.
A good shot of the nice yellow.
Yeah. Nathalie Laidler-Kylander and Julia Shepard Stenzel, The Brand Idea. Buy it in your local bookstore.
Thanks so much.
Nathalie.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.